hate monger, radio host. In fact, the most popular radio host in the country, Rush Limbaugh, has done the world a huge favor today. At 70, finally, he is dropped dead. Now that sounds dark. That sounds mean. By the same token, I have no issue with pointing out that the life that Rush Limbaugh lived did not do this planet a service. In fact, it did the planet a major disservice. A hate monger, racist rhetoric, attacking women, attacking pretty much anybody else that's not necessarily part of this kind of right-wing fanatical cult of sorts. Rush Limbaugh spent his entire life, his radio career, ridiculing all of these other groups. So I don't have it in me to pretend, to feign when a person like this drops dead that there is some sad about that prospect. There is nothing sad about that prospect. I understand for his family. I understand the people who are close to him. I understand to his friends. I understand maybe to his dog or cat. If he had any of those things, then those people would be bothered by his passing because those people are directly related to his passing. I even understand to some degree his audience. Not necessarily having the hate monger on the radio may bother them. For the larger populace of the world, for the largest populace of this country, no, this is not a negative thing at all. And as I said before, when the Koch brother died on radio, that if there's an alien civilization that is in a spaceship or it's on another planet and it is looking at Earth, at this moment, this planet has gotten incrementally brighter with Rush Limbaugh no longer here. I'm going to show you just a montage of Rush Limbaugh's life. And on top of that, I'm going to give you some of the quotes that have been attributed to Rush Limbaugh throughout the time of his show. And you tell me whether I'm being too harsh here or whether indeed his dropping dead was a favor to all of us. Welcome to a brutal soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, and subscribe. You can always support this content through PayPal or Patreon. Rush Limbaugh is the most popular radio show host in this country. So I do feel the need to basically do a video of this. I wasn't necessarily do a video on this, but after watching the montage, yeah, I'm going to do a video on this. Especially now that I'm reminded of some of the quotes and things that Rush Limbaugh has basically said over the course of his career. Have you ever noticed how all composite pictures of wanted criminals resemble Jesse Jackson? Right. So you go into Darfur and you go into South Africa, you get rid of the white government there, you put sanctions on them, you stand behind Nelson Mandela, who was bankrolled by communists at the time, had support of certain communist leaders. You go to Ethiopia, you do the same thing. Look, let me put it to you this way. The NFL all too often looks like a game between the Bloods and the Crips without any weapons. There, I said it. The NAACP should have riot rehearsal. They should get a liquor store and practice robberies. There's 12% of the population. Who the hell cares? He's talking about blacks, apparently. Blacks are 12% of the population. To an African-American female caller, take that bone out of your nose and call me back. Here's another one. I think that the media has been very desirous that a black quarterback can do well. They're interested in black coaches and black quarterbacks doing well. I think there's a little hope invested in McNabb, and he got a lot of credit for performance of his team that he really didn't deserve. Think about that for a moment. The fact that you would even think of those in those terms. A black quarterback. And the world is hoping that this black quarterback succeeds. I'm telling you, the teammates and the team and the people who are part of that team hope that quarterback succeeds. Just like everybody else who's an opponent, they don't. But the fact that you would bring it up and the fact that you would act as if there's something intrinsically different about a white man playing in the quarterback role and a black man playing in the quarterback role, with the exception that the blacks who play that role have a tendency to be better runners. That's pretty much it. From the standpoint of agency, from the standpoint of intellect, from the standpoint of the ability to do the job, I don't see the difference between those things. But apparently, Rush Limbaugh did, past tense. Limbaugh attacks on Obama. Limbaugh has called Obama a African American. He has said that Obama was not black but Arab because Kenya is an Arab region, even though Arabs are less than 1% of Kenya. Since mainstream America has become more accepting of African Americans, Limbaugh has decided to play against its new racial fears, Arabs and Muslims. Despite the fact that Obama graduated magna cum laude from Harvard Law School, Limbaugh has called him an affirmative action candidate. Limbaugh has even repeatedly played a song on his show, Barack the Magical Negro, using antiquated Jim Crow era term for a black man who many Americans are supporting for president. Look, I'm just pointing out the aspects of his life. You could say it's impolite. I think it's impolite that he said it. And fact of the matter is, if Rush Limbaugh had lived to 80, do you believe that there would have been anything that he would have done that would have been to the best interest of the public? He lived to 70. It was 70 years of a horrible, horrible life. And I don't mean that from the standpoint of him. I mean that from the standpoint of just the nonsense that he put out on those airwaves, the vitriol, the hateful propaganda that he basically put out to one person after the next, day in and day out, 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 for up to 70 years. Yes, when I said Rush Limbaugh did this world a favor by dropping dead, God damn it, I mean it. Here's another montage. I mean, honestly, there are pages of this. Pages. 70 years old, Rush Limbaugh has been on the radio for a very long time. He has been putting this garbage out for a very long time. And unfortunately, the people who listen to Rush Limbaugh, who appropriate this garbage and like that nonsense, yes, he has a comedic edge to him. Doesn't make him any less racist, nor does it make him any less, let's just call him appalling. Here is Limbaugh, and just a snippet of Limbaugh. Just a snippet. This is what people were saying day in, day out, every day. For, I don't know when he started in radio, but definitely up to the 70 years. And to be clear, I don't wish any harm on anybody. Lord knows I don't. Rush Limbaugh apparently had lung cancer. He was a cigar aficionado. There are pictures with him smoking cigars. He's defended apparently tobacco use. And he eventually came out to tell his audience that he had lung cancer. There was this kind of tearful episode. Yeah, there was this kind of tearful episode where, towards the end of the show, he basically was like, look, I don't know if I'm going to be able to come back, but this is kind of where I want to be, etc. I'm paraphrasing. It's always tearful at the end, right? And for whatever particular reason, it's as if people live acting as if there will not be an end. They live as if when they finally, that there's no end point. Meaning, did Rush Limbaugh think about what is my life? What is my life going to represent? And when I drop dead, is it going to be to the benefit or to the detriment of this world? And I'm making the point that his life was a detriment, day in and day out, to this world. When I look at my life, I look at it in those terms. I don't know whether Rush Limbaugh looks at it in those terms, but by no means was this to the positive. It doesn't necessarily mean that I like the fact that he has lung cancer. By the same token, him not being here is better than him being here. Let's take a look at the clip from Rush Limbaugh. This is only a minute and 15 seconds. But this is basically what people got out of Limbaugh day in and day out for decades.
Al Sharpton goes out the front door. Yes, I spoke a little Negro dialect there. I can do that when I want to. I like to unify people. David Patterson will become the massa, who gets to appoint whoever gets to take massa's place. In and out the front door. So, for the first time in his life, Patterson's going to be a massa. They have discovered that Obama does have slave blood. I didn't know that I had slave blood. Nobody was translating. Clyburn's new position, driving Miss Nancy. Let them call me racist, ha. He's not in the back of the bus. He's in the driver's seat. And she's in the back of the car being chauffeured.
Nigga.
with an A on the end. Well, I think I can now. Isn't that the point? Because it's not racist. That's the point.
Honestly, that's just a tasting. That's just a tasting. Nigga with an A looks like he was just loving to be able to say it. It's like, I just want to be able to say it. I just want to be able to say it. Oh, I can say it with the A? Yes. Good. I can use nigga. Nigga. Yeah, totally. Right here. We need segregated buses. This is Obama's America. Obama's entire economic program is reparations. You know what Obama's program was not? Reparations. So everything Obama is doing is a big plot to give money to black people. That's his thought. That was Rush Limbaugh's basic premise. Obama is more African in his roots than he is American and behaving like an African colonial despot. Obama is an angry black man. What about Latino quotes? Let the unskilled jobs that take absolutely no knowledge whatsoever to do, let stupid and unskilled Mexicans do the work. Think about that. Let stupid and unskilled Mexicans do the work. Just the framing of that, just even to let something like that come out of your mouth, give some kind of context to what is inside the person that's saying it. You're a foreigner. You shut your mouth or get out. A Chavez is a Chavez. We've always had a problem with them. And look, I can show you video after video after video. Here is, let's see. Let's see the quote. Right here. All right, let's flip.
From the time of my birth 57 years ago to today, this country has grown and expanded. Prosperity has opened its doors for more and more people around the world, not just people born in this country. We know the stories of Asians immigrating and running rings around people born in this country academically in California. We know all about the immigration, legal and illegal, to get into the country. We know that the standard of living has risen. We know that technological advancement is going along at light speed. And yet during this period of time, whether it be the last 57 years or be it the last 20 years, it seems that a majority of the black population has remained angry, frustrated, and behind. They've been left behind. They're acting like they've been left behind. And of course, we've heard that this is because of racism, natural, systemic, institutional racism in America, that we are unfair, that this country is just horrible and rotten. Do you ever ask yourself how it is that people not even born here can come here and in a few short years begin prospering in school, their own business, and yet people who are born in this country somehow have been raised to hate it, to think they're still back in the days of slavery? I actually think, after studying all this acorn stuff and reading what Stanley Kurtz has written about this, I actually believe that what has taken place here, in addition to liberal Democrat legislation, such as the Great Society and the War on Poverty, which a lot of people will now acknowledge really busted up the black family by the government taking the place of a husband and father. He was free to roam around and bear no responsibility. The mother remained the mother. She got the financial assistance from this legislation from the federal government. The federal government became the father. Father didn't have to hang around in order for the kids to be okay, depending on how you define okay. And as you study more and more of this acorn stuff, you find that it has been part of an entire movement that has been going on for 2, maybe 3 decades right under our noses. We thought that it was just liberal welfare policies and all that that kept blacks from progressing while other minorities grew and prospered, but no. It is these wackos, from Bill Ayers to Jeremiah Wright to other anti-American, Afrocentric black liberation theologists, working with Acorn, and Barack Obama is smack dab in the middle of it. They have been training young black kids to hate this country. And
let's stop right there for a moment. The idea that the black father or that fathers are only hanging around because they need to take care of the kids, and if the government steps in, the father just basically leaves. And then to go further with that and to act as if Obama is somehow distributing reparations to blacks, or for that matter, that the things that were dispensed by the government, meaning the collective of people coming together saying we want to supply healthcare, we want to supply education, etc., you realize that there are more whites in poverty than blacks. And there are more whites in poverty and on welfare than blacks because whites make up like 70% or 60-something% of the country. And almost by definition, they're going to have those numbers where they make up more. I don't know if Rush Limbaugh knows that. Also, you know, there are tethers. There's no point where history is untethered to itself. Somebody coming in from a different country with a different background is fundamentally different than somebody being in this country, living through this country, and living through all of the years, living through the breaking of the family homes, living through slavery, living through the Jim Crow era, living through all the way up to the 80s and the 90s, where there was a momentum of segregation, or for that matter, a momentum of discrimination against blacks in the jobs that they would take, especially some of the higher up jobs, even from the standpoint of location and rent, meaning where a person could live. I don't know if Rush knows that, because Rush probably doesn't give a shit about that. He just wants to give the ideological point of view. I would say this. If you have two families, let's say one family has a doctor and a lawyer for a husband, or let's say, two decent careers. That family is going to have all sorts of things that is just unknown to other families that don't have those things. Especially if you're talking about families that were coming through poverty, coming through slavery, coming through these Jim Crow laws, coming through redlining where they couldn't live in a particular spot. You may have families that give these kids a dramatic advantage just by definition of the economic position of the families. Meaning all of these things play into it. It's not as simple as Rush Limbaugh is trying to make it. But again, that's the point, right? The whole point of this is to give an ideological position to make it look as if an argument is taking place. And while the argument may take place from the standpoint of the right wing on a bunch of the stuff, there's an honest appraisal that goes into understanding why society the way it is, why the wealth gap the way it is, and yeah, institutional structural racism. Yeah, Rush Limbaugh is dead at 70. I am not sorry about it. I will not wake up any day whispering to myself or thinking to myself, God, I wish Rush was here. That will probably be the words less uttered than any other words in the history of the English language or phraseology. I'm going to say like, I'm going to say share, and I'm going to say subscribe. Thanks all.